Are you ready to learn all the secrets that make great stories great? We need to start by going down to the root of what a story is. And the answer may surprise you, because throughout this mini course, we'll be exploring a concept that will change the way you think about stories completely. It's that every great story actually has two stories inside of it. It may seem confusing, but once you understand, you'll be able to use this trick to completely power up your story. So let's get started. This video is a lesson from a full free mega course on our website. If you're ready to supercharge your storytelling, click the link in the description and start your journey today. Before we dive in, let's quickly get on the same page about how we visualize stories. Here is a rectangle. This will be our story. On the left is the start and on the right is the end. This rectangle acts as a timeline, so the events in our story can be placed along it from first to last. Throughout this section, we'll talk about the different ways to divide this rectangle to help you visualize the different parts of a story. Okay, enough hypothetical rectangle talk. Let's look at a clear example of a story visualization. And what better place to start than with all 19 hours and 38 minutes of the entire Harry Potter film franchise? Or instead, we could start with something simple, something even a child could understand. Maybe even something made for children, like a fairy tale. Fairy tales are a great place to start because they're some of the earliest stories we're exposed to. And for this example, we're going to look at Little Red Riding Hood. We could place each event of the story across the rectangle to get an idea of what happens, starting with Little Red Riding Hood is sent to visit her grandma, and ending with the wolf eats Little Red Riding Hood. And if we arranged all these external events in order, we would have something we call the A story. We're going to dig into this concept more in the next few lessons, but the A story is the external story or the plot. It's Little Red Riding Hood delivering food to her grandmother, or Moana returning the heart of Te Fiti to the island of Te Fiti, or Rocky taking on heavyweight champion Apollo Creed. This is the action of the story. It's external, and it's what the story is about. But you probably noticed something is missing here. If I asked you what Little Red Riding Hood was about, you would cover what we just mentioned. But if I asked you what Little Red Riding Hood was really about, you would probably say something like, be wary of strangers. You would explain the lesson or moral, which is not covered by the A story. So it's time to split our rectangle horizontally. Up top is the A story, but below, the deeper part of the story is the B story. This is the internal story and is also linked with the theme and the idea of character arcs. It's where the moral or lesson of the story fits in, and it's what the story is really about. So, to expand on an earlier example where the A story in Moana is Moana returning the heart of Te Fiti to the island of Te Fiti, the B story is Moana learning that even though her leaders have left her, she has now grown into a leader herself. So we have two stories, both happening at the same time and both equally essential. The top one is external, the bottom one is internal. We're going to be fleshing this idea out over the next few lessons, but this is a super important idea to wrap your head around, and it'll clear up a lot of other dichotomies in writing. Plot versus character, want versus need, premise versus theme. They're all talking about the same thing. A story versus B story. Neither one is more important. They are the brain and the heart of the story. Both different, both critical. And in the next few lessons, we'll be diving into each one of these turns and how they relate to our horizontal split. But if you want a deeper understanding of why stories are split this way, the extended version of this lesson not only covers the reason humans tell stories, but also the science of how stories affect our brains. See you there.